Oh, hello. I am Toot Toot the Loxodon Bard, and as we are preparing the spell components for Modify Memory, so that we can make our theme song proper always in your head at all times, they asked me to come out on the stage and prepare a little thaumaturgy to give you a replacement theme song until then. So, here we go. D&Me, D&Me, is this show? I don't know the rest of the words. Hey, what was that? Tipsy, get off the table.
No.
How much have you had to drink?
Not enough.
Onyx, could you please help me? Get off the table. No, Tipsy, come back. I am sorry about that. But please enjoy the show. Tipsy, I swear to the gods, come back here.
Never!
Hello, I'm Victor Rivera, and welcome to D&Me, a show where I play with myself. I play D&D with myself, and welcome to episode 3. Thank you so much for joining me. A couple reminders before we begin. Please contribute to the chat, ask questions, give shout-outs to the characters, delight in exciting moments. I won't be able to read it during the game, but afterwards, I love reading through every single one. It is a little treat. Thank you very much. I have been doing a series I started last week, but there are disclaimers at the beginning of the D&D source books and campaign guides and adventure guides, so I want to go through a couple with you. The first one was Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which was last week, and then this week I'm going to do Player's Handbook. So OG, every player I know has this. So the disclaimer is, Wizards of the Coast is not responsible for the consequences of splitting up the party, sticking appendages in the mouth of a leering green devil face, accepting a dinner invitation from bugbears, storming the feast hall of a giant hill giant steeding, angering a dragon of any variety, or saying yes when the DM asks, "Are you really sure?" I think that's just fun. And then speaking of the Player's Handbook, I want to go through... I love D&D a lot, and I want this show to be a display of my love towards D&D, and I want to be able to reach out to the people who work on the Wizards of the Coast D&D staff and thank them. I know Chris Perkins is like one of the faces of D&D, and they're a very talented individual. But I want to sing the praises of some of the unsung heroes. So, this past week, I tweeted Tyler Jacobson, who does a lot of the cover art for Dungeons & Dragons. And he's very talented. And he did, let's see, just Sword Coast Adventures Guide, and Out of the Abyss, and The Player's Handbook. Look at this. And Tales from the Yawning Portal, and Volo's Guide to Monsters, and The Dungeon Master's Guide, and what we're playing now, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So I wanted to give him a little shout out because he liked and responded to my tweet this week. So thank you, Tyler. Please check him out at tylerjacobsonart.com. He had a successful Kickstarter at the beginning of this month. It's a book, The Art of Tyler Jacobson. And also, he did this, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is a new D&D adventure coming out September 21st, 2021. So the reason I have these 3 up is because I don't have them yet. So if you want, Amazon wishlist, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Out of the Abyss, and Sword Coast Adventures Guide. There we go. Yeah. I am scrolling down through my notes. Great. Before we begin, I have one last thing. D&M revisions. So last week, it's not really a revision. I just did a little bit more research because I like going through the I rewatch every episode so that I can keep with continuity and so that I can pick out things of like, oh, I'm juggling 8 characters at a time. I forgot about that. So last week there were more D&D revisions, and this one only has 1. So, past Victor, could you say the question again?
When you have an anchor and you have the U at the bottom with the little hookies, I need to find out what that is because I can't keep calling it hookies. I'll write that down. I'll write that down when I rewatch this. Victor, future Victor, right? What is the hookies? So the hookies is, I did research. The fluke is the whole hooky part. The bill is the very point of the hooky. And then the palm is the flat part of the hooky. We're all learning here. How exciting. All right. Welcome, everybody. And let's get into it. Okay. Y'all might not hear it, but there's an ambulance right outside my window. So, I'm just going to mute for like 2 seconds. I'll be right here. I'm going to go through my notes. Okay, that's much better for me. Now, in the last episode, where we are currently with our adventurers, Tipsy the Forest Gnome Rogue, Onyx the Dwarf Barbarian, Rock the Half-Orc Wizard, and Toot Toot the Loxodon Bard found themselves in the wintry Waterdeep, which is a town. It's a big old town. And they went inside a tavern called the Yawning Portal, where they wound up finding each other because all of them came into existence in this village through a mysterious magical means of some fireballs apparating them into the snowy streets. They all got together, and then as they were trying to figure out their mystery, a fight broke out where it was 5 human bandits against 1 half-orc woman, and my boys jumped in to help. After defeating all of the bandits, the half-orc woman was righting herself and saying, well, thank you, but I actually could have handled that myself. When, emerging from the Yawning Portal itself, which is this 40-foot diameter well in the middle of the tavern, a troll clawed its way to the surface, attached with sturges, which are these blood-sucking little bats. And last episode caused havoc, and it was a 2-hour-long fight battle, which was very exciting. Some moments where Onyx ripped off the troll's leg with his ice anchor. Tipsy accidentally threw a Molotov cocktail and was starting to catch the tavern on fire, where fire is actually one of the only things that can permanently kill trolls. So the bartender, who has a friendly mutton chops, and the half-orc woman pushed the troll into the fire after many strength checks and stuff, where it pretty much burned up. And then there was a hush afterwards, and now my characters are dealing with the aftermath, which Rock and Tipsy dragged some of the deceased bandit bits to the door when the door opened, and emerging was this city guardsman who has cafe skin and glowing yellow eyes, and his fluffy yellow feathered wings curl behind him as he stepped into the tavern. What is going on? Where the bartender came up and said, Angel, let me tell you. And that's where we're gonna resume. Angel, let me tell you. And my bartender comes up, and the bartender's like 5'7". So he walks up to the Asimar, who is like an angel folk in D&D, who is standing 6.5 feet tall. And he's the city guard named Angel is this like buff individual, and it's very prim and proper, like standing super straight up and looking down at this little human in comparison. And the bartender says, "The troll." He points over to the mostly charred corpse, came out of the portal and started attacking. And then there were bodies on the floor. And then I helped throw it into the fire. And I had help from individuals. Which is all technically true. So he will roll persuasion. Opening up my little mimic box where I keep all my d20s for D&Me. All right. My bartender will use the die with the little tankard as the 20. And then, oh, I should have a yellow one. Yeah, I'll do this yellow one for the ASMR. Okay. So. Yep. The bartender who has a 10-inch difference is right up close to the city guardsman and is just looking up, making very strong eye contact. And then he rolls. Hey! Good. I was dreading this past week if he did not roll well. So, although my bartender has 0 to charisma, so he rolled a 16. And then my Asimar city guardsman will roll. Will he roll? Because he is looking around and he sees very plainly the charred corpse of this 9-foot long, because he's now on the ground, troll. And even though things were picking back up a little bit after the battle, then people started filing back in, but there's still... Ooh, okay. There is still a wide berth of the portal itself in the middle of the tavern and around the troll body. And when Angel came in, then like all the eyes focused on him, which is unusual for the Yawning Portal because it's a wild and bustling happen place in town. That's not at all. So, and then when he looks over at the troll, then he can see the charred floor around him. And what else does he see? The bandit bits, the half of bandits, because one was short-sworded in half and one was ice-anchored, shattered, are right by... Okay, so they're right by the door entrance. So my city guardman came in a little bit, so he doesn't see it right there. And he's looking down at this bartender who is always very straightforward. He has a reputation of he would rather use one word instead of two. And according to the book, he will give you a free beer if you don't ask him about the weather, which is very funny. So he looks around. He's going to do an insight check on just the crowd. That's what he's going to do. Okay. Nice. So the bartender is very trustworthy. And the city guardsman looks around at everyone. And he sees just people frozen in action, kind of holding their tankards, staring at him with bated breath. And we see my boys peppered in the crowd a little bit, where they just battled, so they're still kind of... It happened like a minute or so after the troll fell. But Angel looks down and goes, "Okay, I heard commotion. I wanted to make sure everything was okay. Durnan, you really need to do something about that portal. I know it's part of the appeal, the portal appeal, but it is considered dangerous at times to Waterdeep. I know you are here to protect these individuals, and he addresses the crowd. But at some point, there may be a time when you are not here. And I just want you to be aware of that. And then Durnan kind of like breathes. Very clear understanding, but also it has undertones of don't tell me what to do. And Angel didn't really pay attention to that. He is still looking through the crowd, and he is just clocking faces. He rolled a 12, and he has, as a veteran stats, he has a +0 to wisdom, which is what insight is. So he's just looking around, and then he nods. And then with the nod, like, he kind of takes a step back, and then you can hear from the back of the crowd just, and then crowd noises pick back up, and then people are going back to their evening activities where, oh, okay, the city guard was here, and it doesn't look like he's going to throw a fuss or arrest anyone. Okay, bye, 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 bye. So, noise picks back up. Angel looks down at Durnan and goes, just please be careful, okay? And Durnan, he did his one sigh, so he just turns right around and then goes to the bar. Then, so Angel turns around, and then Toot Toot will approach him. Toot Toot, my 7'3" Loxodon bard. So even though Angel towered over Durnan, then Toot Toot, when he saddles up next to Angel, is looking down a little bit, and Toot Toot straightens up just to show that there is someone taller than this 6 foot. Did I say 6.5 foot? I think I did. Individual. So Toot Toot walks up and he extends his hand. Thank you very much for checking in on us. Angel just, he turns and accepts the hand without really even thinking about it. Thank you very much for checking in on us. I am brand new here, and I really appreciate that the city guards are so prompt. I really appreciate you keeping the peace. And then Angel is shaking the hand and goes, yeah, you're welcome. Welcome to Waterdeep. Don't get into trouble. And then with that, Angel exits. And would that have been considered a minute? Because Aasimars have, well, a protector Aasimar has Radiant Soul, where when you do it, it's a racial feature. You get the wings and the eyes, but it only lasts for 1 minute. I would say it's right at the end of a minute. So he opens the door back, and then the chilly wind comes in and the snow, and then Angel, big fluffy, like big bird, yellow wing feathers come out of the wing, and then he into the cold night. And Toot Toot closes the door and so that happened. Cool. Excellent. Great. Yes. What now? He kind of says to himself, and then Tipsy and Rock are standing directly in front of the bandit bits that, like, their broken arms and body parts. They're not like sopping and then like bleeding everywhere, because that's gross. But there was like frost damage. So they are kind of piled into right next to the door, where I would say that the heads are not obvious. So, oh, that's very good, because Angel might have seen it, but since Toot Toot went up to shake his hand, then it kind of distracted his exit. That's very good, because otherwise I would be like, ah, darn, Angel might have seen that. But that's cool. I love D&D so much. The fact that I can justify everything. It's like all of the dramatic ironies. It's a cake of dramatic ironies, layers on layers on layers and layers. So, but Tipsy and Rock are also like standing right next to each other, kind of wide-eyed a little bit. And Toot Toot's right there. And, now what? Whereas in the very last moments of the last episode, Onyx went over to the troll corpse, and he wanted to roll to see if he can get anything from it, because Onyx, he is a barbarian, and he keeps trophies. So, as you can see in my little art, I'm going to get this straight one day, but as you can see in the art, his beard, his braided beard, has a vertebra in him as hair ties, which I think is really cool. But right now, Onyx has his ice anchor, which is this. Onyx is 5'1", which is tall for a dwarf, but his 4.5 foot tall anchor is covered in like this frost mist. And on one of the flukes, is a troll leg, which was ripped off, and like it gone through the meat of the thigh, and like it got ripped off. So it's on one of the flukes. And then he went over to examine to see if he could see anything else. He could salvage anything else from this troll body, and he rolled natural 20 right at the end. So when he went up, I would say that the top 3/4 of the troll is just charred, and you could see barely the form of like the greasy dreadlocks and like the arms, but the fire kind of died out by the time it reached the lower butt. So Onyx goes up, and then he sees I'm not going to say unscathed, because I think he and then Tipsy did damage to the leg, but it's a still meaty leg that's not char-grilled. So Onyx, oh gross, Onyx will just bend down next to it, and then does he have a dagger or something? Let's see. I have a little notebook now. I have a binder where I keep, look at that, so good, where I keep character sheets and their possible actions and magics and inventory. So let's go to my inventory column, and then coin, and then at the end I have their actions, which is a limited resources. So spell slots, or bardic inspiration for Toot Toot, or rage for Onyx. So inventory. Does Onyx have a knife? He has a javelin and a sword. He has a hand axe. A hand axe will do just fine. So he takes out one of his hand axes, and then which is just gross, and he didn't read the room very well. And you hear in the crowd, some people go, "Oh, oh, oh," and then so Durnan, who has probably gone behind the bar at this point, kind of rushes back out to the final Onyx, and then the leg is free. And then he looks up, and then Durnan is standing right there giving him a look. And Onyx, I love this game so much, because then Onyx is staring at Durnan, and then he wipes his hand axe on his chest and puts the hand axe up without breaking eye contact, bends down to pick up the other leg. And then impales it on the other fluke of the ice anchor. And then you see Durnan. It's a staring contest of men a few words at each other. And then Onyx turns away first. And then joins the bamboozled and speechless other three. Then Durnan goes then back behind the bar. And okay, kind of in a stupor, then so Tipsy, Rock, and Toot Toot are kind of stunned a little bit of just like, we just fought a troll, and what do we do? Onyx is nonplussed, so he just waddles up and is looking at the three who are just kind of 1,000-yard stare going on right now. And then Onyx furrows his brow. He looks over to his right, and then he sees one of Tipsy's daggers, the one that missed to the right side of the door. It is just clattered onto the floor. And then he reaches out and grabs Tipsy's right shoulder and kind of pulls him and pushes him towards the direction of the dagger. Then Tipsy, just in a stupor, kind of allows himself to be moved and then trips over a little bit his feet. And, yes, my one dagger now. Okay. He walks up and grabs it, and he's like, my other one is in the guy. Whoopsies! And then he looks at the blade to see if he needs to wipe any blood off, but it missed, and he absent-mindedly puts it away. And Toot Toot and Onyx are kind of standing next to each other, still staring at the ground. And Toot Toot and Rock are standing next to each other, and then Onyx is just staring up at them when they hear a voice from behind them, and the half-orc woman comes up, and she's 6. I think she's 6.5 feet tall also. No, she's 7 feet, because Toot Toot earlier did like a stare, like just to see if, because he's very hyper aware of people who are tall. So he is looking. No. So the half-orc woman comes up and goes, wow, that was really close, because you boys are new around here, yes? And Rock, my half-orc, is looking at the ground going, yes, we are new around here. We all just came in this evening. And the half-orc nods going, yeah, I can tell. You all probably shouldn't have killed those guys, even though they're wailing on me. And again, I totally could have had that. I had that all. I could have. You probably shouldn't have killed them. Toot Toot kind of looks up, why should we? Well, obviously, the loss of life, but is there more to that? And the half-orc goes, yes, there's, like, killing and then bad stuff is really, really frowned upon here in Waterdeep. You all are really new here, huh? Toot Toot, both Rock and Toot Toot just kind of nod. And the half-orc goes, okay, well, you should probably thank Durnan, because he did you a huge solid not turning you in. Just saying, like, it's really bad. So, but hey! And then she smacks, like, the pecs of both of them at the same time. We did it, huh? We killed a troll. I haven't done that. I killed a lot of things. Well, I haven't. Wink. But a troll. That's why I like it here. There's always some action to be found. And then she smiles, pretty much like Rock, the tusks. And Toot Toot goes, "Oh, okay. So we need to thank Durnan. What is your name, by the way? I'm sorry. I'm Toot Toot." And then the half-orc woman like grasps, like Roman, ancient Greece style clasping on his hand, which he's didn't expect that. And she goes, "I'm Yagra. Yagra Stonefist, I think. Hold on. Yagra. Yes, I was right. Yagra Stonefist." And he goes, Toot Toot. Toot Toot. Just Toot Toot. Okay. Uh-huh. And what about you, brother? She looks over at Rock. I am Rock the Purple. And Yagra tilts her head a little bit. Rock the Purple. Yes, it is a wizard thing, because I am light heliotrope, as you can see. Uh-huh. And then Yagra herself is a light turquoise. So she's so I should change Stonefist to blue. Or the turquoise. Yagra the turquoise. Yagra the cyan. Those have the sea foam. Those are variants and good name choices, if you prefer the... And she just disengages. Okay. That's very funny. Who's your friend over there? And then Tipsy by this time kind of just lumbers into the scene. I got my dagger back. I might need a drink. Like, now. And he puts the dagger up and he turns to the bar. Oh, Onyx is there too. He kind of is stepping into the crowd a little bit. So, as Tipsy goes up to the bar, then Rock and Toot Toot and Yagra hear a bustle in the crowd, and Onyx turns around because he was facing away. Onyx turns around, and they see emerging from the crowd the female dwarf that was pulled from the crowd earlier by one of the bandits, who has red mutton chops and red hair down to here. A female dwarf pulling this middle-aged human man, and she goes, I think you need to meet each other. So this is great. And the middle-aged man, who has a full brown beard and manicured wax mustache, lightly brushed with a few gray hairs. He has a dark purple floppy hat, big white poofy sleeves, thick orange cords lining his vest, and as he approaches, he tightens his white scarf with thin orange stripes down it. And he goes, "Thank you very much, Katie Luna. I appreciate this. I look forward to speaking with them very much." And the female dwarf goes, "No, that's great. You have fun. Thank you for taking care of them. Yeah, a lot of good swinging all around. Follow. Don't talk their ears off, all right?" And the man she just called Volo goes, "Ha, ha, ha. I will not. They look like good conversationalists." And Katie Luna goes, great. If you don't want conversation and just drinking, I will buy you around. So, yeah. And then she walks away. Where then all of my boys are together, and now Volo's here going, "You be adventurers, am I right? I could use your help. Let's find a table to talk, shall we?" And this human man walks to the nearest table, and my 4 boys kind of look at each other. Tipsy is at the bar, so my 3 boys look at each other and kind of follow. Yes. So they sit down, and Volo, he sits kind of grandly, like side-saddling a little bit the chair, and his leg is sticking out, and he's going with his elbow on the table.
Volo Thamp Gemard, chronicler, wizard,
At this, Rock perks up.
and celebrity at your service. I trust you've noted the violence in our fair city these past 10 days. I haven't seen so much blood since my last visit to Baldur's Gate. But now I fear I have misplaced a friend amidst this odious malevolence.
Rock straightens up even more when Volo uses big words.
As you can see, the troll emerging from the yawning portal was disastrous, but you, as a group, handled it so well. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yagra goes, who's with them? Yagra goes,
Yep. You're welcome. I was wondering, a brave band such as yourselves, if you could help me with my friend.
Yagra kind of is stepping, like, she's sitting at the table just being polite, and she goes,
I'm actually, I should go back to my position, but,
she stands up and kind of pushes the chair in.
it was great to meet you guys.
And then she whaps the Toot Toot and Rock really hard on the back, and my very eloquent but maybe weak boys both go, ooh. And she goes,
I'm going to see that dwarf about an ale, but, welcome to Waterdeep. What a welcoming, huh?
and she kind of stepped back and walks off, and Onyx is... I like to picture, even though he's 5'1", and Tipsy's just a wee little lad of 210, I like to picture that Onyx is always, like, at the table, like, standing, but he's just seen this much. I really like that visual of just, like a dog at the table, just... You can see his eyes, but not a lot else. So we're looking at the table, and Rock and Toot Toot are sitting there, and then you see Onyx. And then Volo sitting across from them, and you just see Onyx watching Yagra go. And maybe checking out her butt a little bit. And then keep going. At this point, Tipsy... at the table, you see Onyx here, and then 2 shot glasses. And then as Tipsy climbs up onto the chair, and you see Tipsy emerge, kind of zoned out a little bit, and then he just takes one of the shot glasses and downs it without blinking, and then takes another one, and then downs the other one. The troll is still kind of in the middle of the thing, huh? So the now legless corpse of the troll, like some of the employees are cleaning it up. How about that? Durnan is telling people, clean. Yes, that is good. So, Toot Toot says to Volo,
Volo Thamp, it is a pleasure to meet you.
You know what? No, Rock wants to take point on this. So Rock goes,
Volo Thamp,
it is a pleasure to meet you. I am a man of great interest and knowledge myself, so it is quite exciting, exhilarating to talk to a chronicler and a wizard and, your words, a celebrity. This is very exciting. Could you please tell us more?
And especially about your friend, if you need help with that. And Volothamp goes, please, my friends call me Volo. And then Rock's just, you can see him beam. You can see all of my boys are tired because it's like 9, 10, like 9 getting into 10 o'clock. But you see them kind of tired because they just did a battle also. But Rock, with bags under his eyes now, just lights up. Volo, to your friends. Yes. Yes. Great. Volo goes, my friend's name is Floon Blagmar. He's got more beauty than brains, and I worry he took a bad way home a couple nights ago and was kidnapped. Or worse. If you agree to track him down with all due haste, I can offer you 10 dragons apiece now, and give you each 10 times that when you find Floon. May I prevail upon you in my hour of need. Is met by silence from my boys. Toot Toot now picks up. I am so sorry. I am new here. Dragons? Will you be giving us? And then Tipsy, little dragons, like little toy dragons. I could 10 dragons would be fun. Just 10 toy little dragons. He's very tired, and you can see just a bit of a sway as those 2 shots to 2'10" creature already starting to do work. Volothamp goes, are you new here? Because dragons are what they call gold. It's a nomenclature. It's a slang term for gold in Waterdeep. A gold piece is called a dragon. And then Rock cuts in and goes, yes, we are new here. We were actually told, because we are new here, that the crimes are perhaps more harsh here also. And Volo perks up a little bit. Yes, so 10 dragons, and you might be of use of this. And he reaches down and he pulls out like a satchel, and he lifts up the leather lid, and he strums through like books and tomes and lots of loose pages, and you see Rock like peering over, and just his mouth is watering a little bit. Here. And then he pulls out this kind of 3-time folded over little thing. This is called the Code Legal, and these are the more stringent rules of the area, and I think you may benefit from your stay here in propriety to know of these laws. And as I was reading Waterdeep Dragon Heist, they have a code legal in the back, which is all the rules, and I have not read it because I wanted to read it for the first time with y'all. So here we go. The code legal punishment. Here's what it looks like. Nope, there it is. So a lot of rules, a lot of laws, and I scanned through it briefly, and I was like, holy cow. So the code legal. Punishment for a crime can include one or more of the following based on the nature of the crime, who or what the crime is committed against, and the criminal record of the convicted. So Toot Toot and Rock are kind of leaning in, and then Onyx is just there, and he's admiring his ice anchor with the legs on it, and he's kind of twisting it on the ground.
where the bars. Dang it! I should have looked up all of the anchor anatomy, but as the U is spinning around, like the point is on the ground, then the legs are kind of flopping back and forth, and then Tipsy's just off in his own little world. He's a tired little boy. So, but everyone else is kind of like leaning in. So, excuse me. The criminal record of the convicted: death, exile for a number of years or summers, flogging, a set number of strokes, hard labor for a period of days, months, or years, depending on the seriousness of the crime. I spat on my mic. Imprisonment in the dungeon of Castle Waterdeep for a period of days or months, depending on the seriousness of the crime. Fine payable to the city. Inability to pay the fine leads to imprisonment and/or hard labor. Damages payable to the injured party or victim's kin. Inability to pay damages leads to imprisonment and/or hard labor. Edict forbidding the convicted from doing something. Violation of an edict can result in imprisonment, hard labor, and/or a fine. Future victor, underline this. 1. Crimes against lords, officials, and nobles: assaulting or imprisoning, impersonating a lord, death. My tall intellectual boys both have disguised selves, so that's good to know. Assaulting or impersonating an official or noble, flogging, imprisonment up to a 10-day, and a fine up to 500 gold pieces. I don't know how much of all of D&D, but for Waterdeep Dragon Heist, they don't have weeks like a 7-day week. They have 10 days, which is a week pretty much, but a week consists of 10 days. Blackmailing an official, flogging and exile up to 10 years. Bribery or attempted bribery of an official, exile up to 20 years, and a fine up to double the bribe amount. Murder of a lord, official, or noble, death. What happened if it's just... okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is harsh. For those of you newer to D&D, there's a term called murder hobo, where it's a style of playing where they just like to kill things and then go and pillage and loot and burn down buildings. So that super chaotic adventure is fun for some, but not for me. But I think Waterdeep Dragon Heist is designed, especially with the very strict code legal, to encourage murder hobos to find other solutions instead of just going in and killing everyone at the tavern. Using magic to influence a lord without consent, imprisonment up to a year, and fines or damages up to 1,000 gold pieces. Using magic to influence an official without consent, fine or damages up to 1,000 gold pieces, an edict. Good lord. So if my boys mess up, then there could be serious, like, months in game time where they're imprisoned. And I am reeling to try and figure out how that could be a thing. 2, crimes against the city. Arson, murder hobo. Death or hard labor up to 1 year with fines and or damages covering the cost of repairs plus 2,000 gold pieces. Also, my boys don't have thousands of gold pieces. They have 100 of gold pieces. Some less than that. Oh boy. Oh boy. Brandishing weapons without due cause. Oh. Imprisonment up to a 10-day and or fine up to 10 gold pieces. Interesting. Espionage. Death or permanent exile. Well, for a Twitch and YouTube and podcast show, having my boys exiled from the starting location when I'm literally like on page like 7 of the adventure. There's so much I want to do, but okay. I'm thinking this out as a dungeon master and a performer, but interesting. Okay. This is not fun probably for the audience, but I'm liking it. So the code legal, fencing stolen goods, fine equal to the value of the stolen goods and edict, forgery of an official document, flogging and exile for 10 summers, hampering justice, fine up to 200 gold pieces and hard labor up to a 10-day, littering, fine up to gold pieces and edict. Now what's an edict? Forbidding the convicted from doing something, violation of an edict. Littering. Poisoning a city well, death. Yeah, that's a bad one. Theft, flogging followed by imprisonment up to a 10-day, hard labor up to a year, or fine equal to the value of the stolen goods. Treason, death. Vandalism, imprisonment up to a 10-day plus fine and or damages covering the cost of repairs up to 100 gold. Using magic to influence an official without consent, fine or damages up to 1,000 gold and edict. Okay, 3, crimes against the gods. Assaulting a priest or lay worshiper. Imprisonment up to a 10-day and damages up to 500 gold. Now, audience, I see a worshiper here. I thought worshiper was spelled with 2 P's because this is worship-er with 1 P. Is worship spelled with 2 P's? You know what? I'm going to play that I don't have all the world's knowledge at my fingertips, so I'm going to let y'all tell me. Disorderly conduct within a temple, fine up to 5 gold pieces and edict. Oh, I love finding typos and stuff. So this is an end parentheses without a beginning parentheses. So I'm just going to circle that. And Victor has earned a gold star. Public blasphemy against a god or church edict. Interesting. I wonder, I haven't fully read this yet, but I wonder what religions there are in Waterdeep, because that would be interesting. Theft of temple goods or offerings, imprisonment up to a 10-day and damages up to double the cost of stolen items. Tomb robbing, imprisonment up to a 10-day and damages covering the cost of repairs plus 500 gold pieces. My boys need more money. And then finally, 4, I will find the time codes so that people can skip this if they would like for the podcast. But 4, crimes against citizens. Assaulting a citizen, imprisonment up to a 10-day, flogging and damages up to 1,000 gold pieces. So, technically, would the bandits have been assaulting Yagra? And would that have been the first charge? Blackmailing or intimidating a citizen, fine or damages up to 500 gold pieces and edict. Well, see, there's a whole skill called intimidation, and guess who's very good at it? Onyx. Burglary, imprisonment up to 3 months and damages equal to the value of the stolen goods plus 500 gold pieces. Damaging property or livestock, damages covering the cost of repairs or replacement plus up to 500 gold pieces. Disturbing the peace, fine up to 25 gold pieces and edict. So they might have been charged with that also. Here's what I was dreading. Murdering a citizen without justification, death or hard labor up to 10 years, and damages up to 1,000 gold pieces paid to the victim's kin. And then murdering a citizen with justification. Exile up to 5 years, or hard labor up to 3 years, or damages up to 1,000 gold pieces paid to the victim's kin. So I made a note. There's still a little bit more, but for right now, I made a note of which of my boys actually killed, because I kind of forgot that, well, I haven't read the Code Legal, which was very good dramatic irony on my part, when I did the first adventure. I have not read the Code Legal, and like killing stuff is bad anyways, but I remember reading in this adventure that killing is even worse in Waterdeep. So Tipsy straight up killed Krentz, who was the bandit leader with his sneak attack. Tipsy short-sworded the Rock Ray of Frost female dwarf bandit. Onyx anchored the male elf bandit, and then Yagra knocked the teeth out of the Tipsy bandit who actually lived. So, Tipsy, Onyx killed. So, Durnan covered that up. Repercussions, consequences and repercussions. Robbery, hard labor up to 1 month and damages equal to the value of the stolen goods plus 500 gold pieces. Slavery, slavery's bad. Flogging and hard labor up to 10 years. Using magic to influence a citizen without consent. Fine or damages up to 1,000 golden edict. Well, boy, howdy. So, Rock and Toot Toot. It's a video game cutscene where they're both now, like, no long, like, rising up from reading the table. Rock goes, "Oh, murdering a citizen with justifications." Well, it wasn't murder. It was self-defense, first of all. And we need to make sure that you two, he looks at Tipsy and Onyx, are well covered, maybe perhaps laying low for a day or so, as we figure out where your friend is, because you asked us for help. We, and then he looks over at Toot Toot, need to thank Durnan. That is priority number 1. And figure out our next steps. How does that sound, boys? Tipsy straightens up a little bit, going, I think I know what I need first. And then he will roll a wisdom saving throw. Oh, wow, that's a lot. Okay. So, a wisdom saving throw, 19 plus 2, 21. So, he goes, actually, you know what? No, I don't need more to drink right now, because I'm a little hustled and bustled. It was a very long day. I do not need alcohol to drink my cares away. Not right now. I'm very tired, though. I'm very... And then he takes Waddles, his rat, out of his pocket and just absentmindedly, I am very tired. So if we could... If I'm not going to get absolutely shit-faced... Who are you? He looks over at Volo. Volo Tham Gedhard. Geddram. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you want? If you could help me find my friend, that would be very helpful. Okay. He looks over at Onyx. And then Tipsy just kind of puts his head on the table, because he just needs to close his eyes for a little bit. Let me go through my notes a little bit, because I am also very tired. Okay, so Volo goes, yes. Now you can see the forest gnome sleeping. Well, gentlemen, what do you say to my proposition? 10 gold, 10 dragons apiece, just for accepting the mission, and then 100 gold pieces each after you find my friend. Then Rock kind of leans in a little bit and goes, I say that we will help you. He looks over at Toot Toot, who just nods grandly. Mm-hmm. And looks over at Onyx, who is just spinning the anchor more so that the legs are like kind of flopping. It's one of those where you have a little game with the drum on it, and then you do this, and each side of the drum has a little string with the bead, and so da 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 da. So he's doing that with the anchor and the troll's legs, which I should find out how big the troll's legs are, because a 9-foot-tall monster will have some pretty big legs. So the fact that he has made a marionette out of his ice anchor, that's very funny. And
Onyx right now, he is covered with like that troll guts that he wiped off his hand axe and purple blood that was already on him. So mechanically, he has a -2 to charisma, and that was like the very last thing when he was in his game that the DM gave him. So he is just looking a damn fool, just splotched with gore. Just different colored gore, because the troll is also like green, so it's not like red blood, but it's green and purple blood, so it looks like Shrek ketchup from the early aughts. So he's kind of spinning it faster, and he looks up because he wasn't paying attention, and then you can hear a little from Tipsy, who's face down, and Waddles, because he was absentmindedly petting him, kind of climbs up onto the table a little bit and curls up next to like Tipsy's neck, and he's getting a little shut-eye too. So Rock goes, "Yes, we will. We would be glad to help out such a renowned resident denizen of the Waterdeep. What an absolute pleasure. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble containing my excitement. I stole a glance inside your satchel and saw papers and books, and may I ask it? Thank you. May I keep this code legal?"
"Yes, you may,"
says Volo. "Oh, thank you." And Rock folds it up a bunch, and now he has code legal, and he'll stick it into his satchel, because he's a book boy, because he has a book right there. And then Rock also, because he's now getting giddy and like he's getting a second wind of just academia. He straightens up in his chair and he moves this around a little bit. And what I haven't described in the first 2 episodes, Rock is wearing a saddle, like a horse's saddle. Like the knob of the thing is like right here. I'm gonna edit in a saddle later, but he's the thing that you hold on to, like the knob is right here, and it's the seat over him, and it's like also like white fur lined on the outside. It sounds like white fur lined, but that's not it. And it's kind of like loose on him, so he has to like adjust it, because in his game, wizards have very, very low armor class. And that's the whole kind of point, like the trade, where a wizard is easier to hit and has lower hit points, but they can arguably do out balanced a lot more damage. So that's kind of the thing, like where a barbarian is harder to hit, but he can take a lot more like beaten. So those are called tanks, but wizards are sometimes called glass cannons because they can deal out a whole bunch of damage, but they're little fragile boys. So Rock, in his last campaign before D&Me, he asked the DM if because they were in a stable, and he was like, "I take one of the saddles and put it on like armor." And so my DM gave me a +1 to my AC, which was a 12 to a 13. But his speed is reduced by 5. All charisma checks and saving throws are at disadvantage because he's looking like a damn fool having a saddle on him. So he adjusts his saddle. And he goes, what other books do you have? I love books, so I am very interested in all of this. And Volothamp kind of straightens up because around Waterdeep, he's kind of known as like a braggart and a little bit of full of hot air. So someone, like a new person, is giving him a lot of attention. So he go, oh well. Actually, these, and he pulls out from that satchel in one of the front pockets, like these tiny little brown leather. I'm just gonna laugh to myself
occasionally like that because I can picture what like Tipsy and Onyx do as a reaction to what I'm describing, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things of this show so far. So he pulls out these little tiny brown leather coin purses, and he pulls out 4 of them. So these, and then he puts one in front of Rock and one in front of Toot Toot, one in front of like next to Tipsy, and then Rock or Onyx. And so Onyx, without looking, just reaches up and grabs it and puts it down. Same thing with Tipsy, whose head is down, but clink, and then it's just kind of like pokes his eye up a little bit, and then like reaches for it and it goes back down. Thank you.
Yes, these, again, that's 10 dragons for accepting this mission. These came from the residuals of my book.
And Rock is just, he can't be more excited. He's just,
your book? Please tell me more about that. Well, my book, it's called Volo's Guide to Monsters.
And he reaches into his bag and he pulls out a red leather tome covered book. And it's pretty thick. It has like the golden, not golden, but like yellow parchment, and it has a nicely like stamped leather front with a neat design of like monsters and stuff, and a nice red spine, and it has like a little clamp thing that's like, you close the thing. And
he goes, I wrote this, and you may buy a copy if you wish, but the residuals and the royalties is what this is coming out of.
And Rock, like, immediately, excellent. How much for a copy of that? And if you could also sign it if I do buy a copy. Volo laughs to himself a little bit like,
oh, I would be honored to give an autograph. It is 4 silver and 9 copper, but we can round it up to an even 5 silver.
At which point, like, when he started describing the numbers, then Rock is already, like, he has his coin purse, his own coin purse, and it's just going through. 5 silver. Yes. Here we go. And then puts it on and then slides it closer. So I'm actually going to, before I forget, write down that, because I have a sheet in my binder called coins. And this is, oh golly. So green screen and then yellow, but yellow, oh my gosh, you really can't see it. Interesting. I'm learning so much. So it's, well, okay, it's a sheet of yellow, like, construction paper. But Tipsy got 2 shots. So how much is a shot? Like $8 is it? It's pretty good for a shot, huh? So it'll be -1 silver and 6 copper, because as per my last episode, I'm having 1 copper be $1, 1 silver be $10, and 1 gold be $100. So that Rock will give 5 silver. Yes, but they all just got 10 gold. Ding 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 ding. That is my go-to song for stuff. Nice. I will do the rest of that math later. So he takes out 5 silver and puts it on the table and pushes it, and then kind of very eagerly is awaiting. Yes, your book, Volo's Guide to Monsters, is it? Oh! And Volo hands it off to him, like, with a warm smile and fatherly pride. And then Volo takes it and, nope, Rock takes it, and he's just thumbing through it like, oh my goodness. And there you are in the preface. Excellent. And he's just going through it, and he
let's see. Hey, Yanti. Have you seen Yantis? And then Volo will read the little snippet that Volo wrote on this page. So, the pyramids, plazas, and fountains were all made of stone and decorated with snake carvings. All of it felt old as an elven city, and foreboding in this strange beauty. Oh yes, I remember the Yantis. They had pyramids built, geometric shape, and very... And he kind of goes off into, like, stories, and Rock is just entranced. Sorry. I'm looking at all... I have notes just in case I get too lost in my head about who's doing what. So... Okay. So, Volo just goes off talking about this one adventure with Yantis, which are snake people, snake folk. Tipsy's head is down, and he's just kind of exhausted. Waddles is right there. Onyx is, like, you see him spinning his thing, and then just, you hear a loud sigh as he's just playing with his eyes anger. Because he doesn't. He doesn't care. Rock is enthralled and just stars in his eyes as he's listening to Volo talk about the jungle that he waded through in order to get there. And Toot Toot is he's kind of just like spaced out a little bit, where he's after a very long day, then you're kind of just not even energized, but you're paying attention to everything, where you're kind of wired. That's what Toot Toot is. He's like just nodding to the appropriate places in Volo's story and looking over at Rock, who's just, oh, yes, oh, and he's opening it up, the guide, and he's like taking notes in it, and he's looking around at people who resumed their evening tavern activities, and he kind of pushes himself from the table. Rock looks up, and Toot Toot puts his hand up like, oh no, you continue. And then he points at himself and then gestures towards the bar, and Rock follows and sees Durnan, the bartender, wiping down the bar, and he nods in understanding. And Toot Toot, like, wanders. He makes his way across the tavern. He is listening to everything. There's a fun thing called Sonder, where it's wonder but with an S instead of a W, where it's the phenomena, where it's the mentality, the thought process of wondering what other people's lives are. For example, if you're on a bus and then you look around to the 25 other people on the bus, then you realize that each of these people have their own lives. And after you stop at the bus stop and after they got off, then what are they going to do? Are they going to go to the hospital to sit by their ailing wife's bedside? Or are they going to go home to a happy family? Or did their grandmother just pass away? So it's that Sonder. It's a beautiful and a little bit scary big thought. And Toot Toot is swimming in it as he's walking across the yawning portal. And he hears, like, his ear kind of perks up, but it kind of just goes back to hear in the far corner the bard, the resident bard at the yawning portal, and the music therein, and people enjoying it, and he hears laughter and shouts of glee, of like someone getting tickled and shouting, like, up in the second and third story, and just conversation, and like he hears chairs being pushed back, and like, oh, yeah, fuck you. And he's doing this, and he kind of walks towards the open space between the tables in the bar, and he actually moves a little bit to his right to stare down into the yawning portal where the remains of the troll. Here's a good question. When disposing of the troll, do they sweep it up in little dustbins and then throw it in the trash, or do they chuck the corpse down the hole? Because for Waterdeep Dragon Heist, it is a part 1 out of part 2 adventures. And I have not read the part 2 yet. I haven't finished the part 1 yet. But I am wondering if, since the yawning portal, the actual well, is in the middle of a tavern, if, like, the bottom of this initial drop, if there's just hundreds of, like, beer bottles and tankards and, like, half-broken chairs and stuff, and if there is a whole, like, society, or does Durnan have to answer to anyone? You know what? It'll be more fun for me if this happens. So Toot Toot absentmindedly, like, walks towards the edge of the portal and, like, looks down, and then he could see the stone walls just dip into darkness, and it goes down deep down. And Toot Toot will take out. What's his inventory? So he will take out a small bag. He had 2, but this small little burlap sack, like little pouch. And he will just, like, he'll do a little wrist movement and let it fall, like, kind of frisbee into the middle of it, and then just fall. And then he watches it as it goes down and down and down, and then just gets enveloped in the darkness. And he listens with his super good ears, because he's got some big old elephant ears. He has an ability called Keen Hearing, which is advantage on perception, survival, or investigation checks that involve hearing. So when he's active listening. Me and my DM worked that out because Loxodons have Keen Smell, which, because he has a trunk, has advantage on perception, survival, or investigation that involves smell. And I, honestly, while playing Toot Toot, forgets that Toot Toot has a trunk and tusks with instruments, like, with the scrimshaw carvings on it. So I asked my DM if I could have Keen Hearing, and I was willing to trade and stuff. But I think hearing with big old elephant ears is more, like, situationally advantageous for me. So he throws the bag, and then he's listening with advantage to hear if he can hear it fall all the way down. That is a 1, and then a 19. 19 plus perception. 22. So, logically, he can't hear a light little burlap pouch hit the bottom. But he can, just for flavor, he can hear the air going. Kind of little ghostly wails coming out of the thing, the portal, and he's just staring down into it. And then he hears a "excuse me" to his left, where he is kind of spaced out, looks, and this petite little strawberry blonde human, female in her 20s, is helping Durnan hoist up the charred corpse, and she has on dragon hide gloves, like falconer's gloves, kind of, to hold on to it. And then Durnan he rolled up his sleeves, and his super hairy, manly arms are just picking up I would say that Durnan went for like the head and the shoulders, so he picked that up, and then the little girl, not the woman, the young woman, is carrying the lower half of it, where both legs have been ripped and slashed or chopped off, and she's pretty, she's plainly, and she goes, "Excuse me, we're just going to." Oh, and then Toot Toot looks down and goes, "Oh yes, excuse me," and then he awkwardly shuffles to his right, and then Durnan hoists his half of the troll over the edge, and like it's sitting right there at the lip, and then he grabs where the young woman was holding and kind of just, oh, this is cool. So Durnan, my big strong bartender boy, just flips it, and then I will say like 5-foot corpse now. Our legs 4 feet? Does that make sense? All right, so for my D&M revision next week, I will have anatomy of a troll and see how many feet are on the troll legs. 2, Victor. Toot. Boy, howdy, I'm tired. So the top half of the extra crispy troll kind of and like tumbles over itself, and now Toot Toot, with that 22 perception and hearing, listens, and he can hear it flip in the air and like occasionally hit the wall, but it's falling down and down and down and down and down and down. And it fell for a long time. And Toot Toot, kind of when you're on top of a skyscraper, and like a 20-story tall building, and you're kind of looking over the edge and like, whew, that's a long way down. Or if you're on a top floor of a hotel or something, and you very loudly think about gravity and what it can do. So, Toot Toot is just looking down, and he's zoned out a little bit. And both the young woman, the strawberry blonde young woman, and Durnan turn around, and Toot Toot kind of snaps back into it. Excuse me, Durnan, that is your name, correct? And then the young woman employee stops and looks at Durnan, and Durnan looks at her, then like nods confirmation that she can go off and continue her waitressing and cleaning and stuff. And then Durnan turns around going, "Yep. Thank you so much for helping us there. We are brand new here, and we didn't know about the code legal. And I want to very much thank you for what you did. You know you didn't need to do that. And it's been a very long day, so that will not go unremembered, because Loxodons." We don't forget. Then Durnan kind of, thank you very much for that. Do we owe you anything? Durnan quickly throws up a hand. No. And then leaves it at that. Toot Toot. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you very much. That was kindness to a scale yet unknown to me at this point in time. I appreciate it. We will be drinking merrily tonight in celebration of us being here and surviving. So, also, do you have food here? Because, Durnan, we are hungry like the wolf. I waited all game for that. So, Durnan goes, food. And then he goes behind the bar and he prepares quippers and chips. And he makes like a big family style portion of it, which will be 4.5 silver, which Toot Toot will pick up. 4 silver, 5 copper. That sounds pretty good, huh? Yeah, for like a family style, $45. That's pretty good. So then Toot Toot will come back to the table with the like big tray of a bunch of quippers and chips and a water for himself because he had one drink. I'm trying to figure out what my boys do in terms of drinking, and I think Toot Toot is a one and done kind of guy. He doesn't thrill in overindulging. So he comes back, and then Volo and Rock are just deep in conversation about the book. Volo goes, "This is a life-savingly necessary to every adventurer and wayfarer in the Wilderlands and the Underdark. Betimes I used my non-inconsiderate magic to disguise myself as a tree, stone, or even a puddle." To which Rock goes, I am actually in the school of illusion, so I would absolutely love to know how you do that. I only have disguise self, and like I can disguise myself. And what other fucking magic does he have? I can disguise myself, and I can become invisible. But to disguise yourself as inanimate objects, that I do not know how to do that. Could you teach me how to turn into inanimate objects? To which Volo was kind of caught off guard with that, and he,
yes, it's rather complicated magic. It takes quite a deal to study, and eventually, with my other book, that might explain the
other book. Could you please explain what other book are you working on it right now? Can I help you with anything?
Volo goes, well, my other book is will help me with some financial troubles. It's going to be called Volo's Guide to Spirits and Specters, but unfortunately I find myself occasionally the only spirits I know and are well acquainted with are that of the alcoholic variety, and not a lot of work has been done on the sequel. So it is a time coming.
And Rock goes, I completely understand. If you could, I completely blanked out. And he takes out his quill and ink. And could you please assign this to Rock the Purple? That would be just so good, Rock says. And Volo warmly, he chuckles to himself and,
yes, my boy, I would be more than happy to do so.
And slides his book over, and like the
calligraphy, so he indulges in giving his autograph.
Volothamp, Gedarm, to rock the purple. May all your adventures be successes, and all your monstrosities be benevolent.
And he writes that down, and he's saying it as he's writing it, and Rock is just, wow. And as Toot Toot is kind of chewing on a quipper and getting some chips and hydrating, then Waddles, he's looking down, and Waddles is at the tray and munching, like he's holding and eating a chip, which is like, I'm imagining steak fries. And Tipsy's kind of just passed out. You can hear more coming from him. And Onyx, who was spinning his anchor, when the tray hit the table, then he perked up and just which to any discerning individual, Onyx has not washed his hands. Probably from before the purple blood experience. So him with troll ichor on his hand is just... And Volo goes,
actually, now that I have you here, an attentive pupil, I was curious about you are, not to be presumptuous, but a half-orc. Is that correct, Rock?
And Rock perks up when Volo says his name.
Yes, I am. Half-orc. My mother is human, and my father is orc. Orcish. He's not orcish because he isn't orc. So I'm orcish. I'm between.
And Volo says,
yes, interesting. On page 82 of my book, you can see what I've experienced about orcs so far, and I don't know that much about orcs, so if I could just ask you about stuff, about the community.
And Rock kind of shifts his saddle a little bit,
Yes. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to give my my viewpoints on any subjects, matters.
And Volo goes, yes.
Well, I notice that your people are savages and bloodthirsty and ruthless.
To which Rock's face kind of falls a little bit.
Yeah,
and then Volo takes his book and then turns it to page 82 and reads out.
Let's see, what did I write? Yes. Motivated by their hatred of the civilized races of the world and their need to satisfy the demands of their deities, the orcs know that if they fight well and bring glory to their tribe, Grummish will call them home to the plain of Acheron. It is there, in the afterlife, where the chosen ones will join Grummish and his armies in their endless extraplanar battle for supremacy. Isn't that interesting?
And Volo's looking over his notes that he made in the book, and Rock watches Volo as he does so, with his face fallen, and you can tell that the wind is taken out of Rock's sails a little bit. And Rock goes,
yes, I have experienced some roughness, but it's not the whole orc experience.
And Volo goes,
just your savage gods and your vicious ways.
And is thumbing through the book, and
Rock is, if we're seeing it from his point of view, the sound in the tavern is being turned down a little bit. And he sees, as Volo flips through the pages, how many pages of this Volo wrote, of orcs and some diagrams of orc villages, and Volo is going on about how vicious and bloodthirsty in some of the ceremonies of some of the tribes he've encountered. And Rock is thinking back to his human mother, who's very caring, very sweet. His admittedly rough and just his father, his orc father. And then after a while of internal silence, then Rock feels something at his chest and looks down, and Volo has closed the book and slid it towards Rock, and it's touching his tummy.
Yes, that is a very good read for one who's an intellectual as you. That will be very good late-night reading.
And Rock, he then gets hit again with that wall of tired of just, he was completely different place early this morning, and how the past hour has been exhausting. And notices the tray of quippers and chips in front of him, and just grabs some and just absentmindedly grabs some and puts them in his mouth. So Volo goes,
Yes, the sooner you can start, the better. But I understand if you all need a night's rest. Floon could wait another day before being rescued, if he's even alive still.
Which is a little dramatic on Volo's part, but the rest of the table kind of just nods a little bit. Onyx is like a hamster where his cheeks are just full, and he's just cramming more fish and potato in his mouth, and just it's slower than his initial shoveling, but he's. And then, after a while, then Volo excuses himself, pushes him away from the table, and says that he will be back tomorrow morning, if they would like to meet there, and he can talk more about the last place that they were at. Wishes them all a good night, to which Rock kind of absent-mindedly keeps saying that. He raises his hand up slowly as a goodbye. Then Toot 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 goes up to Durnan, who's just serving someone a tankard, and goes,
Durnan, is there something we should know?
Is that the other one? Hold on.
Is there something I should know about the rooms here? I'm assuming there are rooms in this tavern?
Durnan says, 2 rooms left.
Oh.
Well, Toot Toot looks back at his table, where it's just a very tired party. Onyx is back to spinning the anchor.
I am sure that 2 rooms will be just fine. We will take both of those, yes.
And then Durnan, goes over to the wall and picks out two keys and puts them on the bar and slides them toward them. 8 silver each.
Yes, I will pay for this right now, and then I'm sure the others will chip in.
And as he does, then he reaches in his pocket and starts counting. Okay, and then a hand hits the bar next to him, and Onyx slides 8 silver towards Durnan without even looking at him, then picks up one of the keys, and he shifts a little bit because Tipsy is on his other shoulder. And like a totally passed out Tipsy is on his shoulder, and Onyx, without a word, trudges towards the stairs that goes up, and the rooms are on the 3rd floor. And Toot Toot is like, oh, okay, 8 silver, Durnan. So he counts it up, and then on the other side of him is another hand, a light purple hand, and 4 silver is there, connected to Rock, who is holding the... he puts down and then he grasps the knob. This will be a D&M revision next week also, when we learn what the knob is called. The handle on the saddle, and he's holding that close to him, and he's holding Volo's Guide to Monsters on the other side. And then he looks up at Toot Toot going, I guess we are rooming together. And Toot Toot can feel just the tiredness of everyone, and he goes, I guess so. Rock the purple. To which Rock gives a half smile. And Toot Toot grabs the key, and then they go up to the 3rd floor, where Tipsy and Onyx are in their room together, and it's they're like 2 twin-size beds, which is great for the smaller races, but with the 7'3" and 5'11" taller races, then them both having twin-size beds is pretty funny. But in Tipsy's room, Tipsy's just passed out. Waddles is curled up on the pillow next to him. Onyx is... He's using one of his sharp weapons and is peeling the skin and meat off of the troll legs, and now he has the femur and the... Boy, D&Me is turning into an educational entertainment experience, because what are the bones of the leg? All right, the femur and the tibia and the fibia and the fibula. So he's kind of undressing the legs, and he's holding up these very long now bones, and I don't know how to like bleach bones. We'll find that out tomorrow. Just a whole laundry list of learning. So Onyx is peeling the organic material off of the bones and looking, and is measuring them and feeling the weight in his hands, and he's nodding, and he's spending his night doing that, and then afterwards he will clean up entirely from the purple blood and the troll guts, and I can take this off now because it was a reminder. That's that room, and then in the other room to end the night, Toot Toot and Rock are both in their bed, with their hands folded on their chests, looking up at the ceiling. Toot Toot is replaying the happenings of the day. And it's like when you're at Dragon Con or another comic convention, and you have a hotel room connected to one of the hotels, and you hear all the fun being had downstairs. And the sound kind of wafts up the building and permeates through the walls, and it's not loud and distracting, but it's definitely noticeable where you are there, and you are there, but you're also not there, where the life is happening around you and you're not a part of it. So he's struggling with that a little bit. And then Rock has his hands over Volo's Guide to Monsters, and that word hits him pretty hard, monsters, and how there's a whole section on his race and his lineage, and how Volo was uncouth about it all, but he is a man of knowledge, so he must know better, and how they're going to help him out tomorrow, and how they're in a new place, and he's trying to piece together the conjuration magic that happened, and he's well, let's roll something for him. Oh, man, I didn't roll a lot this session, huh? I like storytelling. So Rock will roll an intelligence check, and then trying to put things together. 14 plus 3 intelligence. He is struggling to connect the dots, and he's figuring out that he doesn't have enough of the pieces to put together in order to connect dots, and how in this puzzle there's still a lot of blank spaces, and it's frustrating where if you love the pursuit of knowledge and you're putting things together, then it's very frustrating to step back and then realize how much you don't know, and then how much you don't know. And that's what Rock is going through right now. So he is glad that he has a resource now where he can start learning things like how to turn into a tree, how to disguise oneself and illusion into a tree, but how that has an emotional weight to it, and there's a price to pay. And how he's in a new space and just figuring out all sorts of things. So sleep comes to some, but a restless, tired comes to others. And that is where we're going to end tonight. So thank you so much for watching this. How fun is it for me to play D&D with myself and having an audience and writing notes, but doing stuff that is completely unexpected. What a fun little adventure. So thank you very much for joining me on that adventure. Where's my dang outro? All right. It's not paid promotion, but again, check out Tyler Jacobson at tylerjacobsonart.com. Congratulations on your Kickstarter. That's very exciting. His art is amazing. Like truly, the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide are iconic. So, Tyler, when this show makes a lot of money, I want you to do some art for me, please. But I have no money. Awesome. So that, and be good to each other. Please follow me at D&MeAdventures on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's D&Me, an N, not an ampersand, because social media can't do punctuation. So D&MeAdventures on Twitch, YouTube. I'm going to put this, well, I'll say that in a second. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I stream on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will pop the video on demand up Thursday mornings on YouTube. So look forward to that. That means tomorrow's episode will be up Thursday, August 19th. And then next week's episode will be live Wednesday, August 25th. And I'm workshopping outros. So thank you for turning D&Me into D&We. Good night.